The 1980s was a decade of emerging social conservatism, perhaps in reaction to a perception by many people that things had swung too far in the liberal direction during the free love eras of the late 1960s and 1970s. Ronald Reagan was in office. Christian conservatives like Jerry Falwell had risen to power, and an ongoing witch hunt in the form of the Satanic Panic was going on, in which fears that music played backwards hid evil messages, and general fear of heavy metal scared conservative parents. In 1985, a group of concerned women formed the Parents Music Resource Center, or PMRC. Headed by Tipper Gore, the wife of then-Senator Al Gore, and also other powerful Washington wives, the PMRC was very worried that rock music had gotten too out of hand and would lead to moral decay. The Gate was partly inspired by this conservative fear when two best friends, one a heavy metal fanatic, find themselves opening a portal to the netherworld by playing a record by a fictional metal band backwards, which unexpectedly opens a gate to hell right in their own backyard. Of making the 1987 cult classic, director Tibor Takacs was inspired by his Hungarian-Canadian upbringing. Being a Hungarian, as I was growing up, I heard a lot of stories of vampires and demons in the night, sort of gypsy folklore type stories. And when I was working on The Gate, I often thought of those old stories that I used to hear when I was a kid. Screenwriter Michael Nankin originally wrote the film as an R-rated movie. The studio made him tone it down because they didn't think they could market a movie predominantly starring children to adults. When describing the film, Nankin said, "The Gate is a Pandora's box story. It's about a couple of kids who are fooling around in the backyard, digging a hole, which is a very kid-like thing to do, and they inadvertently open up something that's much nastier and bigger and more powerful than they ever imagined. And what they've done is they've accidentally acted out this spell that summons ancient demons who once ruled the universe and have since been locked behind a spiritual gate, and they've opened the gate." When asked about the themes in this screenplay, Nankin said, "The demons in most good horror films are metaphorical, representational for darker feelings, darker emotions. They're the demons within us. The Gate is about guilt and is about Glenn, the hero kid's fear of abandonment. His parents leave for the weekend. His sister is drifting away from him. Everyone's leaving him, and these fears are basically the catalyst for the demons to come out." Screenwriter Michael Nankin had an eerie supernatural experience himself while researching for the script. Before I started writing The Gate, I really didn't have any background in demonology. But once I started reading a lot of horror fiction, a lot of reference material on demonology, and I was up to a horror novel a day while I was writing. So I'd read during the day and write into the night and try to get some sleep in between. And after a while, I started waking up at the same time every night, frightened to death. And it was 3:45 every night. I would just wake up in a sweat. This happened 5 nights in a row. And on the 5th night, I woke up, and there was a voice in the room. And it wasn't spoken, but I knew that there was a presence, that there was something. And the voice was asking a question, And the question was, do you want to see something? And I had the feeling that if I had thought or said yes, I would have seen something. Something dark and something that lived in the night. But of course, I jumped up and turned the lights on and went and watched television instead. Michael Nankin had an interesting take on viewing the production of his story. Well, when the picture actually went into production, I had a lot of very conflicting and very strong emotions seeing my work actualized, and I would spend time at the set in Toronto, walking around watching the workmen build the sets and watching the rehearsals done, and it was as if someone had pried open my brain and had actualized all these things that I'd thought of. And then there was this other side of me that was saying, hey, wait a minute, I was just writing this stuff down. You didn't have to take it all seriously. Nankin then went on to describe the demon world he created itself. There are sort of 3 levels of demons. The first level revolves around manifestations of the kids' worst nightmares, in the sense that the demons know what the kids are afraid of and are using those fears against them. There's the story of the workman plastered up in the wall 50 years ago, and childhood fears of insects and angry parents and all of this stuff. The second level is the minions, who are actual physical manifestations, actual demons themselves who come out of the hole that the kids have dug. And they're little nasty critters, about 14-15 inches tall, with sharp teeth and claws. And they're sort of paving the way for the demon lord, who is this grand, powerful, godlike, hellish creature who makes his appearance at the end of the film. As a child, Nankin lived in a building which was home to a creepy urban legend about a workman falling between the walls during construction, and his body remained sealed inside. And the movie exists essentially to prey upon all those childhood fears that I had. I think Stephen King said that in order to write horror, you have to be a frightened person, because you have to know what it feels like in order to share that emotion with an audience. Randy Cook, the special effects supervisor, went on to be one of the key designers of Gollum in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Of his work on the gate, Cook had this to say: "The gate really represents kind of an encyclopedia of effects techniques. Everything from stop motion, men in suits, high-speed miniatures, makeup effects of various kinds, remote control puppeteering, optical photography, matte paintings, and it has all these elements, which mean nothing to the general public, but all these things combine to give it a lot of scope." Cook went on to describe perhaps the most popular creatures in the film, the Minions. The Minions are characters who sort of presage the arrival of the end of the world. They show up before things get really bad, because evil seeps into the world from this hole a little at a time, and it starts getting more and more serious. And the Minions are sort of the first indication to the kids in the movie that things are not as they should be. The Minions were designed to represent servants of the Demon Lord. The Gate was strategically released during the Halloween season, capitalizing on the spooky atmosphere and heightened interest in horror films. Cook pointed out, and the movie, oddly enough, and this is, I think, really a stroke of advertising genius, is premiering in Hell, Michigan. The Gate was primarily filmed in Toronto, Canada. The barren landscape of the suburban Toronto town added a spooky authenticity to the film. Cutting down healthy trees was illegal in the region of Canada where this was filmed. At the movie's beginning, the tree shown being cut down had to be transported to the set from another area. Before settling on the title, The Gate, the script was known as Kids' Challenge, reflecting the youthful protagonist's journey through a perilous adventure. The film's budget was around $2.5 million. The Gate managed to create a visually stunning and immersive experience despite its modest budget, a testament to the creativity and resourcefulness of the filmmakers. Director Cox said, "I think the key to a good horror film is that you don't feel that you're being tricked in any way. Because a lot of films, they just cut to the shot that's going to have the monster in it. In this film, we try to meld everything together so it all flowed very smoothly, and you couldn't tell when there's some kind of special effects shot coming up." Heavy metal played a major role in this film, namely through the character of best friend and neighbor Terry, whose bedroom is covered in posters of Slayer, Iron Maiden, and more, and whose vest is even an homage to bands like Killer Dwarfs, a metal band from the Toronto area who are known for their offbeat sense of humor. And Venom, a British metal band known for a 1984 song called The Seven Gates of Hell, tying in with the theme of the film. It was Terry's record album by fictional band Sacrifice that contained the history of the demons, and when played backwards, opened the very gates of hell in Glenn's backyard. Despite being a low-budget production, the movie received positive reviews from critics. The Gate received praise for its innovative visual effects, eerie atmosphere, and compelling storytelling. The film was even recognized for its visual effects and makeup, receiving nominations at the prestigious Saturn Awards, honoring achievements in science fiction, fantasy, and horror films, said special effects creator Randy Cook. And I hope that some of the kids who go to see this will have the same sort of feeling of enthrallment. Certainly we hope we're going to scare them too. But also I think there's more than just cheap thrills. There's some expensive thrills in this too. So, tell me, viewers, was this cult classic a film you watched over and over with your siblings when you were a kid too? Is Terry your heavy metal spirit animal as well? Please sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching, and good night.